A single mother is critical. The billionaire who swore he'd forgotten her comes running. Hello, everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It is quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let us return to our main character. The hallway smells like antiseptic and burnt coffee. Fluorescent lights hum overhead, too bright for the hour, too bright for the news that is about to land. A monitor beeps in a steady, unforgiving rhythm, each sound marking a second that cannot be taken back. On the bed lies a woman no one here seems to know well enough to speak for. She is a single mother, 32 years old, exhausted long before she arrived at this hospital. Her chart lists complications in neat black letters, but it does not list the nights she skipped dinner so her child would not. It does not list the double shifts, the aching feet, the quiet pride that kept her from asking anyone for help. The nurse adjusts the intravenous line and checks the numbers again. Blood pressure low, oxygen unstable. The doctor exhales, slow and measured, the way people do when they are trained not to panic. "We are doing everything we can," he says. Not to the room, but to the truth itself. In the plastic chair by the bed sits a small backpack. Inside is a folded sweater, a phone charger, and a crumpled note written in blue ink. The handwriting is careful, almost too careful. It reads, "Mommy will be back soon." The note was meant for a child who was still waiting. Hours earlier, the woman walked into the emergency room alone. She apologized for bleeding on the floor. She tried to joke through the pain. She kept asking if she could make a quick call first, just one call, to check if someone had picked up her child from school. She said she would be fine. She always said that. Now she cannot speak. The nurse wipes her forehead with a warm cloth, a routine learned through long nights and quiet rooms. She talks softly, even though there is no sign the woman can hear her. Names, reassurances, small details about the weather outside. Care given without expectation is still care. Down the hall, a phone vibrates in a man's hand. He is standing in a glass office overlooking a city that never seems to sleep. The view is expensive, the silence is earned. His suit is tailored, his calendar full, his life arranged down to the minute. He built an empire by never looking back. The message is short, clinical, a name he has not spoken in years, a hospital. The words, critical condition. For a moment, he does nothing. He tells himself this is not his responsibility. He tells himself he moved on. He tells himself he forgot her. But his chest tightens anyway. Meetings are canceled without explanation. An assistant watches, confused, as he grabs his coat. He does not wait for the elevator. He does not finish his coffee. He does not call ahead. As the car cuts through traffic, the city blurs past the window. Numbers and deals fade, replaced by memories he swore he buried. A small apartment, a laugh in the kitchen, a goodbye that was supposed to be clean and final. At the hospital, the automatic doors slide open. The billionaire who claimed he had forgotten her steps inside, breath unsteady, heart racing, just another man running toward a room where time is Alria. The doctor steps away from the bed and lowers his voice. He explains the situation in careful, measured sentences, the kind meant to soften hard truths. Severe complications. Internal bleeding that was caught too late. Her body is fighting, but it is tired. The next few hours will decide everything. The billionaire listens without interrupting. He nods once, as if this is another briefing, another risk assessment, but his hands give him away. They are clenched so tightly that his knuckles have gone pale. He looks at the woman on the bed again. Up close, she looks smaller than he remembers. Thinner. There are faint shadows beneath her eyes, the kind that come from years of broken sleep and constant worry. Her hair is pulled back in a loose tie, practical, unadorned. This is not how he remembers her from the past. This is who she became after he left. The nurse returns quietly and checks the monitors again. She speaks to the woman by name, calm and steady, explaining every small thing she does. She wipes her hands, adjusts the blanket, smooths the crease near her shoulder. These gestures are routine, but they are also intimate in a way money cannot buy. She came in alone, the nurse says gently, not accusing, just stating a fact. She kept asking about her child. The words land harder than any accusation. The man closes his eyes for a moment, and the past rushes in. He remembers the last argument, the way she stood in the doorway of their small apartment, one hand resting protectively on her stomach, her voice steady even as her eyes filled with tears. She had not asked him for money. She had not begged him to stay. She had asked him to choose. He chose ambition. He chose timing. He chose to believe that walking away was cleaner than staying and failing. She chose silence. After that, there were no calls, no public scenes, no demands, just distance, just time, doing what it always does, turning living people into memories. He opens his eyes and looks at her now, surrounded by machines, dependent on strangers for every breath. The cost of his choice is no longer abstract. A social worker enters the room holding a clipboard. She hesitates when she sees him, recognizing his face from magazines and business news, then recovers quickly. Professional, focused. "We need to talk about next of kin," she says. "Consent forms. Emergency decisions." There is a pause. "I am here," he says, and the words surprise even him. "I will sign." The social worker studies him, then nods. Paperwork is passed over, pens click. Names are written where they should have been written years ago. Outside the room, through a narrow window, dawn begins to creep into the sky. The city is waking up, unaware of the quiet battle being fought in this small space. Inside, the nurse finishes her routine and steps back. The room grows still again, broken only by the sound of the monitor. The billionaire pulls a chair closer to the bed and sits. He does not touch her yet. He just stays. For the first time in a long time, he does not try to control the outcome. He watches, he waits, and he hopes that this time it is not already too late. Morning settles into the hospital slowly, like it is unsure whether it is welcome. The light through the window is pale and cautious, brushing the edges of the room without warmth. Machines continue their steady work. The woman on the bed does not move. The billionaire has not left his chair. At some point during the night, his jacket slipped from his shoulders and now hangs over the back of the chair. His tie is loosened. His phone lies face down on the small table beside him, unanswered calls piling up in silence. For once, the world he built can wait. A nurse comes in for the early shift. She pauses when she sees him still there, eyes rimmed with red, posture rigid from hours of watching numbers instead of sleeping. "You should rest," she says softly. "We will call you if anything changes." He shakes his head. "I am fine." It is a lie, but it is one he needs to believe. The nurse checks the monitors and adjusts the intravenous medication. She speaks again, gently, as if explaining the routine to both of them. She wipes the woman's hands and replaces the folded note on the bedside table where it can be seen. She writes notes for her child, the nurse says quietly. Everywhere she goes. The man swallows. He reaches for the note without realizing it, unfolding it carefully, like something fragile. "Mommy will be back soon." The handwriting is steady, hopeful. It hurts to look at. He remembers another note, years ago, left on a kitchen counter. Not dramatic, not angry. Just a few words saying she needed peace and space to raise their child without waiting for promises that never arrived. He had read it once and folded it away, telling himself he would deal with it later. Later has arrived. A doctor enters with a tablet in hand. He speaks in calm, professional tones. The next step is risky. Surgery might stabilize her, or it might push her body beyond what it can handle. Waiting is not safer. Doing nothing is also a choice. The room feels smaller. What would she want? The doctor asks. The question is not about money. It is not about influence. It is about knowing her. The billionaire looks at the woman on the bed. He thinks of her stubborn streak, her refusal to give up. The way she always chose action over fear, even when she was exhausted. She would fight, he says. His voice is steady now. She would not give up. The doctor nods. Forms are brought in. Risks are explained again. He listens to every word. He signs his name slowly, deliberately, understanding that this time his signature carries weight beyond contracts and acquisitions. They wheel her out a few minutes later. The bed disappears through double doors marked authorized personnel only. The hallway swallows her, leaving him alone with the echo of the monitor that no longer beeps beside him. He sits down again, hands clasped, staring at the floor. For the first time, fear is not something he can negotiate with. Hours pass. He does not check the time. He does not check his phone. He thinks about the child who will wake up today expecting a note, a familiar voice, a promise kept. When the doctor finally returns, his expression is unreadable. "We did what we could," he says. The billionaire stands, heart pounding, bracing himself for words that cannot be taken back. Then the doctor continues. "She is stable, for now." The man exhales, a sound halfway between relief and prayer. It is not an ending, it is not a miracle, but it is a chance. And for the first time in years, he understands how precious that is. The next 24 hours stretch into something slow and heavy, measured not by clocks, but by small changes that everyone watches too closely. The woman remains unconscious, but her breathing is steadier now. The machines no longer sound quite so urgent. Each number holds, and holding is enough. The billionaire stays. He learns the rhythm of the hospital without meaning to, the change of shifts, the quiet hours when the hall's empty and the noise drops to a hum, the way nurses move with purpose but speak with care, as if words themselves could disturb the fragile balance keeping this woman alive. He begins to notice things he never would have before. The nurse who always tucks the blanket in just a little tighter. The doctor who pauses at the doorway every time, never rushing past the bed. The social worker who checks the chart twice, making sure nothing is missed. None of them know her the way he once did, yet all of them are fighting for her as if she matters. And she does. He sits closer now, close enough to hear the faint sound of her breath beneath the machines. At first, he only watches. Then, quietly, he starts to talk. He tells her things he never said when she could answer. He tells her he was wrong. He tells her he mistook control for strength and distance for safety. He tells her he thought love was something that could be postponed, something that would wait until life was less complicated. He was wrong about that too. "I told myself you were better off without me," he says softly. "I told myself you were strong enough to do it alone. And you were. You always were. But that does not make what I did right." There is no response, no movement, just the steady rise and fall of her chest. Still, he keeps talking. He talks about their child, about how he saw the note by the bed and finally understood what it meant to show up every day without applause or reward. He talks about the years he missed, the first steps he did not see, the nights she stayed awake alone. His voice breaks once. He does not hide it. A nurse passes by and stops at the door, listening for a moment before quietly moving on. There is no judgment in her eyes, only recognition. She has seen this before. Regret has a sound. Later that afternoon, the doctor returns with an update. The surgery stopped the bleeding. The swelling is still a concern. The next hurdle is waking up. There are no guarantees. There never are. "Talk to her," the doctor says, almost as an afterthought. "Sometimes it helps more than we understand. Have a build it after a very." He nods, grateful for permission he would have taken anyway. That evening, the nurse replaces the intravenous bag and checks the woman's pupils. As she finishes, there is the smallest change, a flutter beneath the lashes, so slight it could be missed. "Did you see that?" the man asks, standing abruptly. The nurse looks again, closer this time. "It might be nothing," she says carefully, "but we will watch." Minutes pass. Nothing happens. Then her fingers move. Just once. Just enough. The room freezes. The nurse calls for the doctor. The man reaches out without thinking and stops himself inches from her hand, afraid to do the wrong thing, afraid to break the moment. Her fingers move again, this time brushing the sheet. "She is responding," the doctor says when he arrives. It is a good sign. The billionaire finally allows himself to sit back down. His legs feel weak. His chest feels tight. But this time, it is different. This time, it is hope. He leans forward and speaks again, his voice steady but urgent. "I am here," he says. "I am not leaving." Her breathing remains slow and even. But for the first time since he arrived, he feels like she might hear him. And for the first time in years, he is exactly where he is supposed to be. She wakes slowly, not all at once, but in fragments. First, there is sound, a distant rhythm, steady and mechanical, like something counting for her when she cannot. Then there is weight, the heaviness of blankets, the pull of gravity on limbs that feel unfamiliar. Finally, there is light, thin and pale, pressing against closed eyelids. She frowns. The nurse notices immediately. She leans in, calm but alert, calling the woman's name in a clear, gentle voice. "You are in the hospital. You are safe. Take your time." Her eyes flutter open. The room swims into focus in pieces. White ceiling, tubes, machines. A figure sitting beside the bed, leaning forward as if he has been holding his breath for days. For a moment, she thinks she is dreaming. He looks older than she remembers. Not weaker, but different. Tired in a way that has nothing to do with work. His suit jacket is gone. His shirt sleeves are rolled up. His eyes are fixed on her face, wide with disbelief and something dangerously close to relief. "You are awake," he says quietly, as if speaking louder might send her back under. Her throat is dry. Her lips part, but no sound comes out. Panic flickers, brief and sharp. The nurse is there immediately, offering ice chips, explaining what happened, grounding her in the present. Surgery, complications. She fought. She made it through. The woman swallows carefully and turns her head again, eyes finding him. "You," she manages to whisper. He nods. "It is me." There are 1,000 questions behind her eyes, but she is too weak to ask them all. Instead, she focuses on the one that matters most. "My child," she says, fear sharpening her voice. "Is my child okay?" "Yes," he answers without hesitation. "Your child is safe. I made sure of it." Tears gather at the corners of her eyes, slipping silently into her hair. She closes them for a second, holding on to that truth like a lifeline. When she opens them again, he is still there. "I did not know if you would want to see me," he says. "But I could not stay away." Saying, she studies him, searching for something familiar beneath the years and the distance. She remembers the man he was. She also remembers the man who left. "I did not call you," she says softly. "I know," he replies. "I am not here because you asked. I am here because I should have been a long time ago." The doctor enters then, breaking the moment with necessary professionalism. Explanations follow. Recovery will take time. There will be pain. There will be therapy. But she is alive. Her body responded. That matters. As the room clears again, silence settles between them, heavier now because it carries history. "I heard what you said," she murmurs, her voice still weak but steady. His breath catches. "You heard me?" "Some of it," she says. "Enough." He does not defend himself. He does not offer excuses. He only nods. "I am not here to rewrite the past," he says. "I cannot. I am here to take responsibility for what comes next, whatever that looks like, on your terms." Number 5. She watches him carefully. Not the billionaire, not the name everyone knows, just the man sitting beside her bed, waiting. "My life did not stop when you left," she says. "I built something. It was hard, but it was real." "I know," he says. "I see that now." She closes her eyes again, exhausted by the effort of speaking. When she opens them, her gaze is clearer. "If you stay," she says slowly, "it will not be because of guilt, and it will not be because of money. I will not be saved. I do not need saving." "I understand," he says. "If you stay," she continues, "it will be because you choose us every day, not when it is easy, not when it looks good, every day." He nods again, this time without hesitation. "That is the only reason I would stay." She exhales, a long breath she did not realize she was holding. "Then stay," she says, "for now." He reaches for her hand, this time without stopping himself. She does not pull away. Outside the window, the city moves on, unaware that in one quiet hospital room, healing has begun again. Not just of the body, but of something far more fragile. Recovery does not arrive all at once. It comes in increments, measured in steps that look small to outsiders but feel enormous to the woman living inside her healing body. The first day, she can only sit up for a few minutes before exhaustion forces her back against the pillows. The second day, she manages a few spoonfuls of soup. On the third, she stands beside the bed with help, legs trembling, heart racing, pride refusing to let her complain. He is there for all of it. Not hovering, not directing, just present. He learns when to speak and when to stay quiet. He brings her water before she asks. He adjusts the chair so she can see the window. When the nurse explains the next phase of recovery, he listens as if this is the most important meeting of his life. Physical therapy begins sooner than she expects. It is uncomfortable, humbling. The therapist encourages, corrects, and waits patiently while she gathers strength she did not know she had lost. Each movement is a reminder of how close she came to not being here at all. When she grimaces through the pain, he does not rush in with solutions. He simply says, "You are doing well," and somehow, it helps. The social worker returns with updates about her child, school arrangements, temporary care, logistics that once would have fallen entirely on her shoulders. Now they are shared, not taken over. Shared. One afternoon, while she rests, a woman in a tailored suit arrives at the hospital. She introduces herself as legal counsel, polite, efficient, prepared. The atmosphere in the room shifts immediately. The patient stiffens. "I did not ask for this," she says quietly, before the woman can speak. "I do not want anything bought or fixed without my consent." One. The billionaire raises a hand. "She is right," he says. "You can wait outside." The lawyer hesitates, surprised, then nods and steps back into the hallway. He turns to the woman in the bed. "I promised you this would be on your terms," he says. "That includes the difficult parts." She studies his face, searching for the familiar signs of control and impatience. She does not find them. "There are questions we need to answer," he continues, "about the past, about why things happened the way they did, but not today. Today, you heal." She exhales slowly, tension easing from her shoulders. Later that evening, when the room is quiet again, she finally asks the question she has been holding back. "Why now?" she says. "Why come back after all this time?" He does not answer right away. "I thought I was protecting everyone," he says at last. "I believed that if I stayed away, I would not disappoint you. I did not understand that absence is its own kind of harm." She nods, accepting the honesty without forgiving it outright. "The truth came too late," she says, "but it still matters." A nurse enters to check vitals, smiling softly at the calm she senses between them. The woman's numbers are improving, slowly, steadily. The body responds when it feels safe. That night, after the nurse leaves, he pulls a photograph from his wallet. It is worn at the edges, folded from being carried too long. A picture of a child, smiling shyly at the camera. "I kept this," he admits. "I did not know if I had the right, but I could not let it go." Her eyes soften, not with approval, but with understanding. "Keeping a picture is easy," she says. "Being present is not." "I know," he replies. "I am learning." She reaches for his hand again, her grip stronger than before. It is not a promise. It is not forgiveness. It is something quieter and more real. Trust, rebuilding itself one careful moment at a time. Outside, the hospital settles into night. Inside, recovery continues. Not just of a body that nearly failed, but of a bond that was broken and is now being tested, not by words, but by what happens next. The shift in the hospital atmosphere is subtle at first, almost easy to miss. It begins with conversations that stop when she enters physical therapy, with a nurse who hesitates before answering a simple question, with paperwork that suddenly takes longer to process. Nothing dramatic, nothing overt, just enough to feel wrong. The woman notices. She always has. One afternoon, as she practices walking a few careful steps between the parallel bars, the social worker returns, her expression tighter than before. She asks if they can speak privately. "I need to be transparent with you," the social worker says once they are alone. "There are concerns about decision authority. Your case has attracted attention." The woman already knows what that means. "Because of him," she says quietly. The social worker nods. "There are questions about influence, about whether medical decisions were made freely." The words sting, not because they are cruel, but because they touch a truth she refuses to let define her. She worked too hard to be seen as capable, too hard to stand on her own to be reduced now to an assumption. That evening, when he arrives, she does not hide it. "They think I am here because you decided for me," she says, "that I am a problem you solved." He stiffens immediately. Who said that? It does not matter who, she replies. What matters is that I will not be treated like I do not have a voice. He listens, jaw tight, anger rising fast and familiar. The instinct to correct, to confront, to use his name and power to make the problem disappear is right there. He stops himself. The next morning, the hospital board requests a meeting. It is held in a small conference room with glass walls and neutral artwork. Administrators sit across the table, polite but guarded. The billionaire takes a seat at the end, silent, hands folded. The woman sits beside him, shoulders straight, eyes clear. One of the administrators speaks carefully. We need to confirm that all decisions regarding your care have been made without pressure. She answers before anyone else can. Every decision was explained to me. I gave consent. No one spoke for me. Another administrator turns to him. And you? He meets their gaze. I did not make her choices. I supported them. There is a pause. It would be easy to add more. To remind them who he is. To list donations and connections. He does none of it. I am not here to control outcomes, he continues. I am here to respect hers. The room shifts. Not dramatically, but enough. After the meeting, she lets out a breath she did not realize she was holding. You could have ended that faster, she says. Yes, he replies, but not better. That afternoon, she receives another visitor. This time, it is a woman she recognizes immediately. His mother. The air grows tense the moment she steps inside. Perfect posture, perfect smile, eyes that assess before they soften. I came to see how you are, his mother says, voice smooth, and to discuss what happens next. The woman does not look away. Next is my recovery, she says. Nothing else. Ten says it of lauder. His mother's smile tightens. You have already taken enough from my son's life. The words land like a slap. Before the woman can respond, he steps forward. No, he says firmly. I made my choices. She lived with the consequences. If there is blame, it is mine. His mother looks stunned, truly stunned. This conversation is over, he adds. If you cannot respect her, you will not be part of what comes next. After his mother leaves, the room feels strangely quiet. You did not have to do that, she says. I did, he replies. For a long time, I chose silence. I am done with that. She studies him, weighing actions instead of promises. Later that night, as she lies awake listening to the familiar sounds of the hospital, she realizes something has changed. Not in her condition, but in the balance between them. This time, when tested publicly, he did not choose convenience. He did not choose power. He chose her voice. And for the first time, she begins to believe that staying might mean something different than it did before. The change does not come with celebration. It comes quietly, the way real progress usually does. 2 days after the meeting with the hospital board, the doctor brings better news. The swelling has gone down. Her vitals are stable without constant adjustment. She is cleared to move out of intensive care and into a recovery room with sunlight and a window that opens just enough to let fresh air in. When they wheel her down the hallway, she closes her eyes and breathes deeply, as if reminding herself that she is still here. Physical therapy becomes part of her daily routine, walking longer distances, sitting without support, learning the limits of her body all over again. Each small victory feels earned. Each setback feels honest. He is still there, but now he does something different. He steps back when needed. He does not speak for her during medical briefings. He lets her ask the questions. He waits while she decides. When paperwork arrives, he reads it only after she does. When discussions about finances come up, he looks at her before answering. One afternoon, the hospital administrator returns, this time with a softer tone and an apology that is careful but sincere. Misunderstandings were addressed. Protocols reviewed. Her autonomy reaffirmed. I appreciate your patience, the administrator says. The woman nods. I appreciate being respected. That same day, the social worker confirms that arrangements for her child have been resolved. School transportation adjusted. Temporary care coordinated. Nothing extravagant. Just stability. When the social worker leaves, the woman sits quietly for a moment, then looks at him. You did not fix my life, she says. You helped remove the obstacles. That was the point, he replies. Later, as evening settles in, he brings her a small envelope. No logos, no formal seal. Inside is a single sheet of paper. It is a legal statement, simple, clear. It acknowledges responsibility for the past without conditions. It outlines support for their child without strings attached. No custody claims, no expectations, no leverage. I wanted you to have this, he says. Whether I am in your life or not. This licks, in Kamen. She reads it slowly, twice. Her hands do not shake. This is not control, she says. No, he agrees. It is accountability. She folds the paper and sets it aside. That night, she sleeps more deeply than she has since arriving at the hospital. The next morning, when she wakes, the nurse smiles as she checks the chart. Recovery is ahead of schedule, not rushed, not forced, just steady. When he arrives later that day, she is sitting in the chair by the window, sunlight warming her face. I want to walk outside tomorrow, she says. He smiles. Then tomorrow, we walk. For the first time, the future does not feel like something being negotiated or feared. It feels open, uncertain, yes, but grounded. The crisis has passed. The tests have been faced. The choices have been made without money speaking louder than people. And in the quiet that follows, healing takes on a deeper meaning. Not just survival, not just recovery, but justice, dignity, and the space to choose what comes next. She leaves the hospital on a quiet morning, not with cameras or announcements, but with sunlight on her face and steady ground beneath her feet. The nurse walks beside her as a precaution, but the woman does not need the arm offered. She moves carefully, confidently, each step a reminder that she is no longer fighting to survive. She is moving forward. He follows a pace behind, carrying the small bag that holds everything she arrived with. The folded sweater, the charger, the note that once promised a return she was not sure she could keep. Outside, the air feels different, lighter, real. A car waits at the curb, nothing extravagant, just transportation. Before she gets in, she turns to him. This is where we slow down, she says. Recovery does not end when the doors close behind us. I know, he replies. I am not in a hurry. Where the watches, Dakin identity, they go to her home, not his. A modest place filled with signs of a life built carefully over time. Shoes by the door, a child's drawing on the refrigerator, evidence of effort, not wealth. Later that afternoon, her child runs into her arms without hesitation. The hug is fierce and grounding, full of relief and trust. He watches from the doorway, saying nothing, understanding that some moments are not his to enter. That evening, after dinner and homework and quiet laughter, the child falls asleep on the couch. The woman covers them gently and then steps onto the small balcony, needing air, needing space. He joins her a moment later. I am not asking for promises, she says. I am asking for consistency. I can give you that, he answers. And if I ever fail, you will not have to guess where you stand. She nods. That matters more than grand declarations. Days turn into weeks. Follow-up appointments, physical therapy, ordinary routines reestablished. He does not move in. He does not take over. He shows up when invited. He leaves when asked. Trust rebuilds itself in the quiet spaces between effort and restraint. One evening, as they walk slowly through a nearby park, she stops beneath a tree just beginning to bloom. I almost did not make it, she says. He does not deny it. I know. And yet, she continues, I am still here. Not because I was saved, because I was cared for. Mike! He meets her gaze. That changed me. She believes him. There is no dramatic proposal, no ring produced at the perfect moment. Instead, there is a conversation about the future that includes room for uncertainty, growth, and choice. They choose to keep going, together, but not rushed, honest, not idealized. The note that once said Mommy will be back soon is taped to the refrigerator now, no longer a promise, but a reminder. Love did not arrive as a miracle. It arrived as presence, as accountability, as the courage to stay when staying is harder than leaving. And in that choice, made every day without applause, healing continues.